The California morning light spilled through the blinds, painting my bedroom gold. It should have been a beautiful day, our 5th anniversary, the kind James promised would be different. Breakfast in bed, a walk on the beach, a quiet evening, just us. But when I woke, the house was silent. No music, no laughter, no note on the nightstand. Only the faint smell of his cologne fading down the hall. In the kitchen, I found it, a single sheet of paper folded once. Don't wait up. Busy day. No, love, James. Just that. I stood there for what felt like forever, the morning sun burning against my back. Busy day. 2 words that cracked something deep inside me. By noon, my phone buzzed. It was Jenna, one of his coworkers. She sounded hesitant, almost guilty. Claire, I saw James this morning. He wasn't at the office. Where was he? I asked. She hesitated again. At the Oceanside Resort. With a woman. A woman with red hair, laughing, leaning close. The kind of closeness that never needs explaining. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stood there, staring out the window, realizing the marriage I'd been fighting for had already ended. I was simply the last one to find out. That night, I opened the drawer of my desk. Inside was an old letter, one I'd written to James years ago but never sent. A love letter filled with hope, belief, and all the words I thought would last forever. I read it once more, then folded it shut. If he could lie with such ease, so could I. But mine would be in silence. This time, I would write another letter. Not about love, about consequence. 2 days later, the rain followed me north. I sat alone at a small coffee house near the Seattle pier, the windows fogged from the cold. Outside, the sea was restless, waves crashing against the docks like they were trying to escape something too. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was supposed to be rebuilding, moving on, whatever that meant. But I couldn't stop thinking about the woman with red hair, or the man I thought I knew. That's when I noticed him, 2 tables away, a man with dark eyes and a sketchbook balanced on his knee. He looked at me once, quietly, and said, "You look like someone trying to disappear." His voice was soft, calm, almost disarming. I let out a small laugh. Maybe I am. He smiled, closing his notebook. Then you're doing a terrible job. People trying to vanish don't order cappuccinos with cinnamon. It made me laugh, the kind of laugh that felt foreign after weeks of silence. He introduced himself as Eli Turner, a traveling artist between exhibits. He talked about the rain like it was a living thing, a rhythm that kept him company when the world felt too loud. We spoke for hours, about nothing and everything. He never asked personal questions, and somehow that made me tell him more. When I left, he handed me a folded napkin. On it, a sketch. A woman sitting by a window, lost in thought. Me. But not the broken me. The version I'd forgotten existed. The one who still looked alive. That night, back in my apartment, I unfolded the napkin again. The rain outside was tapping against the glass, soft and rhythmic. I placed the sketch on my desk beside James's letter. One full of betrayal, one full of memory. and for the first time in weeks, I picked up a pen. The first line came easily. "You took everything from me, James. But soon, I'll take something you can never rebuild. Your peace." The next week, I did something I never thought I would. I followed him. James had told me he was attending a networking dinner, the kind that usually ended with an expensive wine bill and a new contact. But when I parked across from the restaurant, I saw her before I saw him. The woman with red hair, the one from Jenna's call. They weren't careful. They didn't even pretend to be strangers. He brushed her hair back as she laughed, his hand resting on her back like it belonged there. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. I wanted to burst in, to shout, to make the world stop. But I didn't. Instead, I watched. Long enough to see the truth, raw and unfiltered. And somehow that hurt less than the lies. When he finally came home that night, his tie loose, his eyes glazed with confidence, I was waiting in the dark. He froze when he saw me. "How long have you been sitting there?" he asked. "Long enough," I said. I didn't yell, didn't cry, just handed him a small folder. Photos, receipts, timelines. He looked through them, his jaw tightening. "Are you spying on me now?" he sneered. "No," I said softly. "I'm documenting my freedom." He laughed, cold, hollow. "You're not built for revenge, Claire. You're built to forgive." Maybe once that was true, but forgiveness had become a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. That night, I packed a small bag. I didn't leave him, not yet. Leaving would end the story too soon, and I wasn't done writing mine. Revenge doesn't start with chaos. It starts with silence. For days, I said nothing. No arguments, no accusations. Just calm smiles, late nights working, and gentle goodbyes. James thought he'd won. He thought my quiet meant surrender. It didn't. While he slept, I went through his files. Business proposals, client lists, old emails he thought were deleted. And buried in them were things far more dangerous than infidelity. Fabricated invoices, manipulated reports, deals that never existed. The man who mocked me for being too emotional had left a trail written in numbers, and I was finally reading his language. During the day, I began reaching out. A few old contacts from my previous marketing firm, friends I hadn't spoken to in years. I wasn't direct. I just let small truths slip into conversations. Hints, doubts, whispers. Not about the affair. About trust. About James. Whispers spread faster than rumors. They're lighter, easier to carry. Within a week, I could feel it. The subtle shift when people began to hesitate before saying his name. The calls he expected didn't come. The meetings were rescheduled. He'd sit by the phone irritated, not realizing the silence was the sound of his foundation cracking. One night he finally asked, "Have you noticed people acting strange lately?" I looked up from my book and said, "Maybe you're imagining things." He frowned, confused. That was the moment I knew. He was starting to lose control. Because for the first time, the manipulator didn't know who was pulling the strings. And I wasn't just his wife anymore. I was his ghost. The quiet one who knew too much. The trick to revenge isn't destruction. It's patience. You don't burn the house down. You loosen the foundation, one silent crack at a time. I began with his pride, his company. James ran a small but growing real estate consultancy, all charm and handshake deals. He built it on charisma, not competence. And that's the easiest kind of empire to break. I used what I knew best, his habits. He never checked his emails twice. He never questioned flattery. And he always underestimated me. I reactivated my old consulting license using my maiden name. Quietly, I began reaching out to his clients, offering market corrections and audit reviews. At first, I just pointed out small errors, details James had missed. Then, I let my reports find their way to the same investors who'd once trusted him. It didn't take long. The calls started. James, this report doesn't match your numbers. James, why does this signature look different? Each question was a thread, and I knew which ones to pull. At home, I played the role of the oblivious wife. I made dinner, laughed at his stories, kissed him goodnight. While he slept, I printed receipts, cross-checked transfers, and built a map of his undoing. He thought the world was slipping away because of luck, timing, or jealous colleagues. He never looked across the dinner table and realized the storm was sitting right in front of him. And yet, there was one thing I didn't expect. Eli, the artist from the coffee house. He called one evening, asking if I'd like to meet again. I hesitated, because revenge had become my new devotion, and I couldn't afford distractions. But part of me, the part that still remembered warmth, said yes. Eli met me at the same coffee house, the one by the pier where the rain never seemed to stop. He brought a new sketchbook this time. Thicker pages, bolder strokes. You look lighter, he said as I sat down. Maybe I am, I lied. He smiled, sliding a napkin toward me. Still using cinnamon on your cappuccino? Some things don't change. We talked for hours again, about art, choices, the strange ways people rebuild after being broken. But this time, I noticed something new. He asked questions, not the casual kind, the precise kind. What line of work is your husband in? How long have you been married? How's business treating him lately? I hesitated before answering. Something about his tone wasn't curious. It was searching. Later that night, when I came home, I checked my phone. A new message from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. Me and Eli, sitting at the coffee house, taken from across the street. My stomach tightened. The next day, James was unusually calm. He poured me a glass of wine, smiled, and said, "You've been busy lately, haven't you?" It wasn't a question. It was a warning. He knew. Not everything, but enough. And that meant one of two things. Either someone had told him, or he'd been watching me all along. I glanced at my phone again, reading the unknown number. It wasn't random. It was a corporate ID, registered under Turner and Company. Eli Turner, the man who'd made me feel seen, wasn't who he said he was. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, the city lights flickering like dying fireflies, piecing the truth together. Eli wasn't just an artist. He was working for someone. And given the timing, I didn't need to guess who. James had always been calculated. If he sensed my silence wasn't surrender, he would find a way to confirm it. Maybe Eli was his way, a hired observer dressed in charm and sympathy. For days, I played along. Coffeehouse meetings, texts about healing. Every word I sent became bait. Until one afternoon, Eli slipped. He mentioned a property deal James had kept hidden, one that even I hadn't uncovered. It wasn't an accident. It was a message. That night, I set the real plan in motion. I sent Eli a voice note, shaky, breathless. You were right. James is hiding money offshore. I found the account. I just don't know how to expose it. 2 hours later, my home office was accessed remotely. He took the bait. But what Eli didn't know was that I had installed tracking software weeks ago, not to spy on James, but on whoever might spy on me. When I opened the log file, I saw everything. Every folder he copied, every transfer, and one hidden file name that made my heart freeze. Subject, Claire. They'd been documenting me. Photos, audio, even emails I'd deleted months ago. For a moment, I felt the old fear return, the kind James used to plant in me like poison. But then I remembered what fear really was, a signal. And I had learned to follow signals to the source. That night, I didn't cry. I smiled. Because now, I wasn't the one being watched. I was the one setting the stage. I invited Eli to meet one last time. The same coffee house, the same window seat. But this time, I wasn't the woman he'd met weeks ago. This time, I came prepared. He smiled when he saw me, that easy, confident charm. But his eyes flicked to my bag, and I saw it. Recognition. Fear. I leaned forward and said quietly, "You know, Eli, I used to believe people showed up for a reason. That maybe you were a coincidence. But coincidences don't carry hidden recorders in their pockets." His hand froze, a second too long. Then he laughed, too smooth, too late. "Claire, you've got it all wrong." "Do I?" I said, sliding my phone across the table. On the screen, an audio file played. His voice from a call 2 nights earlier. "Yeah, she suspects nothing. James wants confirmation by Friday." His face turned pale. I didn't yell. I didn't cause a scene. I just smiled. Calm, quiet, dangerous. "You told him I was unstable, that I was planning something, that I was still obsessed with him." "Claire, please." "No," I said, cutting him off. "You don't get to please your way out of this." I stood up, leaning close enough for him to feel the tremor in my voice. "Tell James, the next time he sends someone to spy on me, make sure they know what they're walking into." Then I left the napkin he once drew on, the one of me sitting by the window, on the table. Except now, across the bottom, I'd written 4 words in ink. "The watcher gets watched." As I walked away, I didn't look back. Behind me, I could hear his chair scrape the floor, panic in motion. But it didn't matter. The mask had fallen, and soon, so would everything else. Revenge is never loud. It's quiet, calculated. It waits until the moment no one's watching. The morning after my meeting with Eli, I sent an anonymous package to 3 places: James's corporate board, the local financial authority, and one investigative journalist who owed me a favor. Inside, digital logs, recordings, and transaction sheets. The ones Eli had stolen from my computer. Except these weren't the originals. They were edited, adjusted, reframed. enough to make it look like James had used his company funds to move money offshore through fake consulting accounts under Eli's name. The evidence was clean, the timelines matched, and the voice notes were crystal clear. I knew because I wrote half of them. By noon, the chaos had begun. News alerts, phone calls, board meetings without James. By 4 p.m., he was escorted out of his office, shouting about fabrications and setups no one believed. Because by then, the truth didn't matter. Perception had already done its work. Eli tried to disappear, but the trail I left pointed straight to him as James's silent partner. Emails, texts, transactions, all real, all curated. By the end of the day, the two men who once thought they owned every move were trapped inside mine. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and watched the headline scroll across the screen. Local businessman faces investigation for fraud and embezzlement. Anonymous source reveals internal corruption network. Anonymous. I liked the sound of that. As the rain began to fall outside, I turned off the TV and whispered to myself, sometimes justice doesn't need a courtroom. It just needs patience. A week later, I stood by the ocean, the same shoreline where James and I had once promised forever. The waves crashed harder now, as if they knew the story had ended. The world had already moved on. News cycles faded. Names disappeared behind legal jargon and silence. But I didn't need headlines to feel the closure. I already had it. At home, I opened the drawer one last time. Inside was the first letter I ever wrote to him, and the last one I ever would. The first began with, "I love you." The last began with, "I forgive you." Not because he deserved it, but because I did. Forgiveness wasn't a gift for him. It was the lock I turned on the door that led me out. I sealed the letter, walked to the fireplace, and set it down. The paper curled, edges glowing gold before turning to ash. Years of silence, pain, and manipulation, gone in a whisper of smoke. When the last flame died, I felt it. The space inside me he used to occupy, finally empty, finally mine again. The next morning, I met Eli one last time. Not to accuse, not to forgive, just to end it. He looked broken, pale, tired, carrying the weight of his own choices. I told him something he didn't expect. Don't run from what you did. Learn from it. That's what separates people like us from people like him. Then I left. The rain began again, light, cleansing, almost kind. And for the first time in years, I didn't flinch. Because this time, the storm didn't belong to me. It belonged to the ones who created it. And I was finally free.